Here's integrated 3. It's the closure problem 7-127, and it wants us to show how the zero product property can be used to solve each of the following equations. So the first equation, it's already factored. We've got 3 factors, and they're each factored, and they're set equal to 0. Zero product property says that if something times something times something equals 0, well, one of these things has to be 0. Like, the only way you can get an answer of 0 in a multiplication problem is when you multiply by 0. So we know we're going to set x equal to 0, we're going to set x minus 1 equal to 0, and we're going to set 2x plus 3 equal to 0. So I just set each one of them equal to 0. And then you might be able to do this in your head. You can just go x equals 0. So you're just going to say, well, that's x equals 0. I can do this one in my head. I can go like, well, what makes a 0 here? It's x equals 1. And what makes a 0 here? I can do that in my head. I can go, that would go over to the other side of the equal sign and be -3, and then I divide by 2. So that's going to be -3/2. But if you don't want to do it in your head, or if it's a more complicated problem, you just see how I set it equal to 0, set that one equal to 0, set equal to 0, and solve it, and you get your 3 answers. Now this one, letter B, they just gave us this quadratic, and it's set equal to 0, but the zero product property, the word product means multiply. These are adding and subtracting, not multiply. So we have to factor this, and you guys know how to factor stuff using this box method. So the first thing I do is I see that it's a cubic, and I see the greatest common factor is x, and so I factored that out first, and then I was left with this nice quadratic, which I can put in my diamond problem or my area model box. So the x squared term goes on the bottom, the constant goes top right. You multiply these two together, and that makes the number that goes on top. And then you're trying to get something that adds to the coefficient of x. So I put the x down here. So I know 3 times 2 makes 6, and if I make the 2 negative, then I got my -6 and I got my positive x. So I take these two numbers and I put them in the area model box. So there's my 3x, there's my -2. And then I'm going to just go on the outside. I'll use this other pencil. And I'm going to try to factor it. I know 2 times x, like I know I'm going to have an x and an x, and I know one of them gets a 2. I can't put the 2 over here because 2 doesn't go into 3, so I have to put the 2 down here. So it's 2x times x, and then 2x times something equals -2x, so that's going to be -1. And then x times something equals 3x, and that's going to be 3. So now I know that this turns out to be x minus 1 and 2x plus 3. And then I can kind of do this in my head. I can just say x equals 0. X equals 1, because 1 minus 1 is 0. There's a mosquito bothering me, sorry. And then this one would be x equals -3 over 2. This one you might want to take it out and go see? Like that's what I did, but some of you guys can do that in your head, some can't. So these are where I'm getting my 3 answers.